Welcome to a football show, Thursday edition at a different time, and I do appreciate all your patience. That is Nick Suss of the Tennessean, and I am Braden Gall. We are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages. If you are celebrating USA soccer this weekend, like I hope you are, make sure you have your watch party, fueled by all the beverages at Sinkers Beverages. You can do THC, you can do bourbon, you can do wine, you can do champagne, you can do beer from all over the globe, all available at Sinkers Beverages.
Just name 6 more beverages.
Tequila, like any beverage or alcoholic beverage that's sold at Sinkers Beverages.
I mean, gin, thematically, vodka, Sinkers would be a good idea.
Brandy, sake. We had sake at the party, and we had old fashions. Does that count, or is that a mix of bourbon and simple syrup, or what? Non-alcoholic beer. Seltzer waters, you name it, they got it.
You did name it, and they do got
it. That is correct. Happy Thursday, fellas. There we go. Yes, that's right. 6 Dos Perros tomorrow from Yazoo Brewing Company, a local brewery that you can buy all their beer at Sinkers Beverages in their award-winning craft beer retail fridge. USA, baby. Let's go. I am not holding back, Nick, in my expectations and fandom, which is very unlike me. Normally, I'm just cynical and dead inside and assume the worst, and everybody's going to lose, and my team suck. But Arsenal won, the Knicks have won, and USA played its best match ever. I am all in now on the USA winning the World Cup, baby.
Arsenal won, the Knicks won, the Mets. USA's playing well. It's just going great.
The Vols football team. Look, the Lady Vols softball team, while we were watching on vacation, they lost twice in a row to the second UT, which is bad. But, UT athletics, much like the Predators and the Mets, have taught me to be this cynical inside and dead. And now the Knicks of all teams are teaching me to be joyous, and USA Soccer of all teams teaching me to be joyous. All right, here's what we're going to do on the show today. Want you guys involved in the comments, please thumbs up, notifications turned on, etc., etc., etc. Here's what we're going to do. Minicamp was this week. It was mandatory. We're going to discuss Minicamp in its own little vacuum of what we saw this week. Then we're going to talk through all of the offseason program. Did the Titans accomplish their goals? The coaching staff, what are they trying to accomplish? A new coaching staff with new players, a new draft class, etc. Did they accomplish their goals? Then we're going to sign each other's yearbooks after that. And we're going to give out some summer superlatives on this entire thing we're talking about, the Tennessee Titans roster. Sound good?
Yeah. I hope this goes well.
I have no idea. I wrote down a bunch of awards I wanted you to give out. I have not told you them. And B, I've written them mostly just to entertain you and get your brain working.
Yeah.
So I hope the audience appreciates them.
And for the people who are viewing, I couldn't decide if I want to call this Nick's Picks or Nickopedia, so I wrote both. I've got a whiteboard. I will reveal my answers as we get there.
Most importantly, don't hold the whiteboard in between your mouth and the microphone.
I don't think.
That's a hold it behind your head if you can do that. Now talk.
Now I talk right here, real close to the mic.
Yeah, that's
real close to the mic, yeah.
Actually, if you could talk that close to the mic the whole time, that'd be great. I'm afraid to report that football has not left Harry Kane as of yet. That's English striker. They were really good yesterday. What is a realistic outlook for Restrepo? Is he even worth a practice squad spot with the depth at wide receiver? We'll get to that.
I have answers.
We will get to that. I actually have a new opinion on that. Post-draft, boots on the ground, some time to see these players. I know it's not pads, but what is our biggest need, and do we sign anyone before preseason? Man, these are good questions that we're all going to get to as we talk about the offseason program. First, though, does Nick have a big head, or is that just your hair?
When I played high school football, I wore a size medium helmet. So I do not have a particularly big head, but I do have a lot of hair.
I'm like 7 3/8, so that's actually like a fairly modest size dome for me personally.
I have a lot of hair, and it grows this way instead of this way. So my head does look big. And also, I don't know how to frame a shot. So Braden looks professional, and I just kind of like, hey guys, where am I? Am I here?
No. I have far less ability to grow hair at my age. He would have a chance if Saleh didn't enjoy collecting defensive linemen. That's Coach Wills jumping in on the Restrepo conversation. Ed Henry says, listening to Saleh and his instructions for the next 40 days, it sounds like training camp will be similar to Junction Boys. I was asked, and maybe this is the first way to start this. I was asked in a radio interview, like, hey, what's the difference? And the only real difference that I can point to between this time this year and this time last year is sort of the intensity level. But I don't know if that comes with their actual strategic planning, the new coaching staff, to be more like that, or if that's just the way Brian Daboll is naturally, or if that's a function of being new. But the Callahan training camps the last 2 years were very chill in general relative to training camps that Vrabel ran. This has felt different, more, I don't want to say like hard-nosed or energetic, or I don't know what the right phrase is, more adult professional. I don't know. I don't know what the right explanation is. How would you answer that question?
If I'm answering it from a practical perspective of what's the difference, I would say players 20 to 40 on the roster are upgraded. Like, just if you're asking practically what's the difference between the 25 Titans and the 26 Titans, the players in the middle of the roster that we know are going to make the team but aren't necessarily the stars of the team are better. I think that's probably fair to say. Maybe players 10 to 40 if we want to go that far. If we're talking impractical, if we're talking intangible, kind of like Braden's alluding to, of what is the difference, it seems a little bit more compact. It seems like they're taking advantage of their time a little bit better. It doesn't seem like as much of the practice is going from place to place or taking breaks between place to place. You can tell that Saleh's brand of football is predicated on get the guys tired, max effort. It's kind of like if you're a starting pitcher in baseball, is it better to save 10% of your arm so you can go 7 innings, or is it better to go 100% for 5 innings? I think the Saleh regime is very much go 100% for 5 innings type stuff. And you see that reflected a little bit in practice, but that doesn't necessarily tell me too much about the team so much as it says, yeah, practice. It never felt, other than the rookie tryouts, there was never a point where I was at practice and I'm like, we're still here.
I see.
Why are they still going?
Like it's dragging on. Yeah.
I got nothing ever felt like it was dragging. It felt well organized. It felt high pace. So maybe that's where you were getting the intensity from, because I didn't really sense a lot of intensity. I just sensed a frenetic pace. Yeah.
It's intentional and professional is maybe the two words I would say. This may be the best way to put it. Bustin says, sounds like Callahan was more concerned with team building and less about building a team, per se. I like that. I think Callahan's uncertainty of calling plays had a huge impact on the offseason. I don't know about the impact on the offseason per se.
And I also would add, not necessarily Callahan's job to build the team. So take that for what it is. Yeah. But
Retro says, I get the vibe that Callahan couldn't get out of his own framework, and this year the players feel more hyped. Maybe, but again, we haven't gotten to training camp yet, so we'll figure that out. So a couple of questions here that I'm going to get to. So Rob says, yearbook questions: most likely to get arrested, most likely to improve, most likely to retire, most likely to be traded, most likely to make a dumb viral moment. That is along the lines of what we're going to do today. When B French says, Braden and Nick, who are your OTAs winners and losers thus far? We're going to do that. That's kind of baked into our conversation today as well. So let's start with just in general, and I'm going to play a bunch of videos. So if you're watching on YouTube, you got a long cut of all video from minicamp. It's going to be a bunch of quarterbacks warming up and throwing to Wan'Dale Robinson. It's going to be defensive linemen doing some stuff. It's some linebackers doing some drop drills. Everything is from Wednesday's minicamp. So I'm going to play this while we talk in general. Nick, I want you to tell me just in general, after a week of inaccuracy, last week with Cam Ward, how do you feel this week went for Cam and then the team writ large?
With Cam, I will put it the way that I wrote it, Tennessean.com, if you want to see my what's real and what's nonsense now that the off season's over post that went up this morning, yesterday evening. I don't know when it went up. When I look at Cam, I think the simplest way to say it, the 3-word summation, would be hasn't gotten better with an asterisk on hasn't and an asterisk on better. It is impossible to say that from what we've seen Cam improve. But that doesn't necessarily mean he hasn't improved. It just means we have not seen areas of improvement in the areas that don't necessarily matter to his game as much. The things that you want to see improve this time of year are the things that aren't necessarily central to what got you here. It's that whole mentality of, if you've got one, Cody Barton talked about this yesterday. If you've got one weakness, you spend the entire off season trying to fix that weakness, and then sometimes you get worse at the things you're good at because you're focusing on the stuff you're bad at.
Yeah.
If I looked at the stuff that Cam wasn't solid at, wasn't perfect at, I can't say, oh, I have absolutely seen that he got better at those things. But I don't know if that means he hasn't gotten better, or if that means he's gotten better at the stuff that we already knew he was good at, and that's going to make him better. But that stuff doesn't really pop in shells this time of year. It's really tough to say. I thought he had a pretty solid week. I thought he was okay on Tuesday. I thought he was pretty good yesterday. I'm trying to keep the level head of knowing if the head coach is saying, I don't think these practices matter that much, then I don't want to pretend that these practices matter too much. It would be great if the best players showed up and practiced like superstars. If Cam showed up and went 50 for 50, that'd make our lives easier. We'd be able to sit here and be like, look how good he was. He's improved. But if you're asking me to go big picture, if you're asking me to blue sky this whole thing as we look at him throw in the blue sky, yeah, he looks like Cam Ward. And if you're somebody who already thought Cam Ward was the complete package, he looks like he looked. If you're somebody who thought that Cam Ward was incomplete, he looks like he looked.
It's funny, the same interview that asked me, like, what was the difference? One of my explanations on sort of like Cam in general was it's sort of the Rorschach test of what you think of him. If you think he's going to be great, there are moments where you see him be great. If you think he's going to be a bust, there are plenty of moments to see that he looks like a bust. I thought his best day at practice of the entire last 3 weeks was this week on Wednesday, the last practice of the offseason. I thought it was because now there's officially the season's kind of over. Now we've got an offseason period, time off, 40 days, and then you come back and training camp starts late July. So that sort of marks the end yesterday on Wednesday. And I thought it was his best practice that I've seen in probably since one of his first practices of OTAs. So take that for what it's worth. You want a player to get better. You want a player to progress. And if you really love him, you see that. If you really don't like him, you see that too. And it's sort of like, it's very meta to be like, Cam Ward is whatever football vision you have of yourself. It's very much what it is. And but he did get better, and I do think his best day was yesterday, for lack of a better explanation.
Yeah, I think that he had a very good day on the last day of OT. I shouldn't say very good day. I think that he had a day that a quarterback in his position should be expected to have more often than not. It's good. It's good. He threw well. I thought that the move it periods fit what he's good at more than the, stale periods. You would have liked to see him get the ball in the end zone once or twice, which he kind of struggled to do. But if you lead a drive on a field goal every single drive, it's not bad.
Yeah. Mitch Trubisky threw a couple of touchdowns and did some good work in those drives. And then one drive, they pulled him out on the goal line, put in Will Levis, and Will Levis promptly threw an interception.
Yeah.
What happened there? Why did that happen? I don't know why I'm asking you this, but I want to know.
I heard murmurs that Trubisky was getting looked at by trainers after the fact. I did not personally see that, so I do not want to put falsehoods out into the world. I don't know. I do not know the answer.
After you just said it.
No, but that's what I'm couching with. A different reporter said that they saw that.
Okay.
I trust that person saw what they saw. I did not see it.
Okay. So we also saw a lot of new players this week that we hadn't seen a lot of. John Franklin Myers, Cordell Flott, Alante Taylor. Not a lot of Femi Oladejo and Monty Hooker, but a lot of the other players we hadn't seen in a while. Anybody else stand out to you just this week in this isolated 2 days of minicamp? Jeffrey Simmons was out there. I thought the practice itself on Wednesday, partly, And Coach Will says this, wouldn't that be by design? Meaning Cam Ward built to this moment and had his best practice at the end. I do think that the team period felt the most real of any of the practices we have seen up until this point. So, it felt the most real because I was looking at what looked like the starting offense and the starting defense to some degree, not every player, but like it was the most. It was the most like a lineup they're going to run out there in week 1 of the NFL season that we have seen.
Yeah, you know who kind of, maybe this was more just Wednesday than Tuesday and Wednesday, but you know who like actually did pop to me a little bit on the last day was Keldrick Falk. It was the first day I kind of saw the vision of, oh, if he's used in this way and he's got these guys around him, he looks lean in a way that I hadn't really expected him to look because of how, massive he is. The way he was talking, did you stick around for the Falk press conference?
I did not, but I agree with you. If you're asking me for one player who stood out that I hadn't seen stand out, I would say 15 absolutely stood out more on Wednesday.
Yeah, Falk had a good day, and when he talked after practice, he very confidently was like, I liked what I did at Auburn, and I don't regret what I did at Auburn, but when I got here and saw what I have to do here, I like this so much better. Like, this is what I want to be doing. This is the style of defense I want to be in. And, like, we don't spend enough time talking about joy. Like, we don't spend enough time talking about just like football players who are happy are probably having fun out there and probably doing better because of it. But then Falk got into the nitty-gritty of being like, he gets off the field and he makes an okay play, and then he's got Jeffrey Simmons standing on the sideline who's like, the offensive tackle gave you a hop set here, and you did the right thing with your get off, and you shouldn't be criticized for having a good get off. But when he gets into a hop set, this is what you need to do differently on your second step because he countered your first step well. And just like taking all of this in for a guy that, if you remember 2 months ago, didn't know who Jeffrey Simmons was all that well. Like when Falk was picked, his football knowledge, not the football IQ, but just like the understanding of the modern mechanics of football was admittedly lower than some of the prospects who usually get picked around that point. And now he's growing into a professional, and it's really encouraging to see.
Ryan Tannehill famously did not know who was in the AFC East when he was drafted. It sounded like a guy who lived in Texas his entire life. That's what it sounded like.
Now, I'm not going to go as far as what Rob Nell just said. I don't think he's going to be Myles Garrett. Like he
doesn't have the bendy explosiveness. Bustin says, I was going to ask how big Falk looks in person, and this was back in OTAs. He's very big.
He's big.
I mean, he looks like the guy who was kind of the top true defensive end in the draft at his position. Now, what's really interesting is that he had a big sack on Wednesday of Cam, as much a sack can be a sack in no padded minicamp. But he's lining up in a lot of different ways based on the formation they're facing, as you might expect. And so very interesting to see where they're using him. Which is where you expect him to be used, which is along the defensive line as a defensive end. So.
Yeah, and I think this was Easton's observation, so I'll give
there he is right there walking on your screen right there. There he is.
I'll give him credit, Easton, for this. We were talking yesterday, and he's like, you see Jeff back-to-back with Falk, and it's really easy to be like, oh, yeah, people can keep growing when they're in the pros. Like, Falk is big, Falk is massive, but he doesn't have the, like, I've been in the pros 6 years kind of definition.
That's right.
He still does look like a player who has some time to grow into himself. So if you guys are seeing him right there on the screen, I don't know if it's paused or frozen.
I've paused it.
Yeah, you can see how muscular he is, but you can also tell, look at Solomon Thomas not that far off. Like, look at what a 10-year pro looks like, and look at what a rookie looks like.
Yeah.
He's big, and he's also got a lot of room to grow.
There you go. There you can see the definition.
Yeah. Like Solomon Thomas's arms, Keldrick Falk's arms.
Damn, Solomon Thomas. Holy smokes.
When your whole life gets to be professional football for 10 years, you look a little bit different than when you've been training for the combine.
Yes, Donnie, it stopped because I stopped it. I wanted to show you all Keldrick Falk because somebody asked, and here he is again, right there on the left side of the screen. So if you're this is why you watch on YouTube. So there you go. All right. So last one before we move on to sort of, did we accomplish our goals as an OTA? I want to know how does this Titans coaching staff define accuracy? How does Brian Daboll define accuracy? How does Coach Tierney define accuracy? I want you to tell me how you think this coaching staff defines accuracy, and you can do it through either of those two visions of on offense.
Yeah, I don't think Brian Dable had very much interest in defining accuracy when I asked him about it, and I'm not going to speak critically about that. He didn't give an answer. But Shea Tierney talked at length on Wednesday, I guess it was, about how he defines accuracy and how he sums up the ability to grow accuracy in a quarterback. And he was there with Dable when Josh Allen improved, and he brought up the examples of, well, was Josh Allen inaccurate at Wyoming, or was Josh Allen's completion percentage low at Wyoming? Because those are two very different conversations, and we can't conflate completion percentage with accuracy. And if you look at on-target throw rate among pro quarterbacks, it's tricky because, like, last year, if you're evaluating pure on-target throw percentage, Cam Ward's was within a percentage point of Matthew Stafford's. And Matthew Stafford won MVP. Now, Matthew Stafford's average depth of target was about 2 to 3 yards deeper downfield. So what is accuracy here? If you're roughly on target as often as the guy, but the other guy is making considerably more difficult throws, and then you look at the adjusted completion percentage rates on deep balls, and the difference is like 20%. Like, accuracy is not accuracy, completion percentage is not completion percentage. There's so much that goes into it. And I think this was kind of Tierney's point of, you can refine accuracy and you can work on being more precise and you can work on your mechanics and your footwork and all this stuff. But also the plays that are called and the system you're playing in, and whether you're targeting receivers who are separators or receivers who are contested catch guys, which is another point that Tierney and Greg Lewis liked to make yesterday, talking about the smaller receivers on roster. There's a lot that goes into precision versus accuracy. I think they believe that Cam Ward's precision can grow.
Okay.
I think they more so believe that they can artificially increase his completion percentage with a good scheme, and that will make him look more like a accurate quarterback.
Okay. I can get on board with that. All right. Let me remove this video here. So now we've watched it a couple of different times. So, okay. All right. Last but not least here, before we get into our summer awards, go to Sinkers Beverages, by the way. Please check out Sinkers Beverages.
Speaking of awards.
Yeah, that's right. Award-winning 5-time Liquor Store of the Year, Sinkers Beverages. Get all your U.S. Men's National Team World Cup needs, your alcoholic needs. If the U.S. Men's National Team is up 3-0, we drink more. If the U.S. Men's National Team is down 3-0, we drink more. And if the U.S. Men's National Team is tied 1-1 with 20 to go in the second half, we drink more. You're going to need Sinkers Beverages watching U.S. Men's National Team soccer is what I'm saying. So just go to Sinkers. Okay. So here's my thing. What do you think the goal was of the coaching staff for this period? We've talked a lot about Cam and what they are designing, how Brian Daboll is implementing the practices and how it's unfolding and what's the whole purpose of what they're trying to accomplish. I would, like, for example, I imagine that what you want out of the rookie class is to end this period of off-season preparation with more understanding of the game, the playbook, the philosophies, be able to recognize plays quicker in film study, be able to articulate what your job is faster and more cleanly and clearly by the end of this whole thing. Just have rookies make progress, for example. So I want to know how you would define, describe, explain what you think the Titans' goals were for the entire team for this 5-week period of work before we take the break.
Get to the summer healthy. Get to the summer smarter. Get to the summer prepared to take advantage of the next 40 days. Get to the summer good enough to hit the ground running at the end of July. Like, I think this was much more about pre-workout than it was workout. Like, this was teach the guys how you're going to practice, teach the guys how you're going to communicate, teach the guys how. None of this to me felt like, and now we're playing football. And I don't think that Saleh ever felt it was that. So I don't want to diminish what we've seen. I don't want to diminish any of the pros, cons we're going to talk about for the next half an hour. But like, if you ask me what I truly think the goal was avoid anything that's going to make the team worse. Like, just don't do something dumb to hurt the team in May and June.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Do you think they accomplished that?
I think so. I mean, as far as I know, that nobody's gotten majorly hurt or suspended or is not going to be here. And it seems like the communication is going well. It seems like the players have a confidence in their baseline understanding of what's being talked about. It seems like the young players are at the very least understanding what to do and at the most improving at what they're doing. You can see, like we talked about with Falk, or we've talked about it with Gunnar Helm having a bigger role. We've talked about it. Somebody alluded to Alec looking bigger. We've talked about Chim having a pretty good week last week. Like, some of these younger players are stepping forward, and that's important to, the team. I don't think they hurt themselves at all. I think they got through this. I think that the team is intact and knows what it wants to be doing. And maybe that's setting your sights low. But when you are trying to raise the floor of a team, when you've come off of back-to-back 3-14 seasons, getting to a baseline where, no, we're not a bad team, and no, we're not going to hurt ourselves anymore, had to have been the goal.
Yeah, I think to your point earlier about how one of the biggest takeaways is that the team players 20 to 40 on the roster seem better.
Yeah.
I think that's that they want the floor to be elevated and for every player to have gotten better. And I think by and large that happened. Not every role is expanded, but did everybody? And like look, Tyler says, speaking of Alec looks like T.O. in his prime specimen. I don't think so. I think he looks like a more professional body. Gunnar Helm has a more professional body. Chim DK has a more Kevin Winston, they look like they have, like to your point about Keldrick Falk, they look like they are people who have been in a professional, NFL offseason program and season of work physically. But I think, I don't think Alec Iomanner resembles anything close to T.O. I'm not trying to insult. That's not an insult to Alec Iomanner. I don't think you are appreciating how big and fast and powerful and explosive Hall of Famer Terrell Owens was.
My favorite football player who ever lived, Terrell Owens.
Seriously?
Yeah, I love watching T.O. Nobody ever. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. Maybe I remember being in the trenches of the Randy Moss versus Terrell Owens debates as a teenager and as a youth, and losing every single debate because I was getting ganged up on. But I will fight for T.O. I loved watching him play.
Look, I to quote the great Lou Holtz that I worked with for many years, who also was kind of an ass. Don't want to speak ill of the dead, but whatever. I would agree with you, Nick, but then we both be wrong. So.
Look, you know what the difference is?
Randy Moss,
fundamental
far
difference
superior.
Is? You know what the fundamental difference is? If you spin a wheel of 1 year of their career and just pick a random year, 1 through 20 of their career, and you spin it for T.O., you got a 100% chance that you pick a year where he's trying 150%. If you spin a wheel with Randy Moss, I don't know if you can say that.
Nick, sometimes that extra 50% though led to like a suspension.
Sure. And sometimes it led to 93 receiving yards on a broken leg in the Super Bowl.
Sure. That was a great game that he had that night.
He's the best. I love him. Love watching him play.
I don't think the leg was officially broken. I think it was recovered from breaking earlier.
I'm sorry that he broke his leg like a month ago.
Yeah, like 8 weeks earlier. Dude, everybody can play in the Super Bowl after breaking their leg 6 weeks ago. Come on.
Favorite player ever. Love watching T.O.
He's annoying. Great player though. Great player. Not arguing his talent. Goals seem to be focused on the youngest or newest Titans, says Rob. See what they have and bring some chemistry. I agree. So we're gonna get started. Here we go. Matt says, "You're good in my book, Nick. T.O. is the favorite of all time." There we go. So here's what I'm going to start with some of the comments to get us going on these awards.
Yeah.
One that is both the good spirit of this exercise and one that is the bad spirit of this exercise. So we were asked earlier by a commenter. I'll see if I can find it here. If I can't, I apologize. The question was most likely to have a viral moment, a dumb viral moment. It doesn't have to be dumb. Like an AJ Brown being live streaming from the hospital is a dumb viral moment, but there's also plenty of really good viral moments, right? So I'm curious on the roster, outside of perhaps the third or fourth string quarterback.
Okay, if I'm not allowed to pick him, I got to pick somebody else.
You're not allowed to pick him. You're not allowed to pick Levis. Who is the most likely player on this roster to have a viral moment in general?
Most likely player on this roster, not counting Mr. Viral Moment himself.
Is he the most viral person in his family? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I'll pick it. We gotta
Xavier Restrepo.
We gotta talk about him. So yeah.
Yes.
We gotta talk about Restrepo.
I love it. I love that you went with Xavier Restrepo.
Yeah,
he can catch footballs with his feet.
Yeah, he is kind of engineered for virality there. And look, I am talking.
He has an outsized influence on Titans fans on social media alone. So there you go,
guys. I'm saying this as somebody who, less than an hour ago, had a story published on Tennessean.com where I projected the 53-man roster and put Xavier Restrepo on it.
Okay, hang on. So
this is not a guarantee. I like what I'm seeing, and he is a natural backup for Wan'Dale Robinson, and they keep giving him opportunities.
So one of the other questions in the comments was, hey guys, basically OTAs winners and losers, which is a little bit more in the spirit of the actual analysis of it all. And one I wrote these all down last night, and I said, scout team player. This is literally dedicated to a single person. Who is the scout team offensive skill player who might have made the roster ? Award.
Yeah.
And it's Xavier Restrepo. And I am not the one who's sitting here saying like, oh, we were wrong all of last year. No, we weren't.
Nope.
We weren't wrong last year. But he, much like those other second-year players, has a different body type now. He looks more professional. He looks a little bit lighter and a little bit quicker. And he was more active with the first and second quarterback throughout all of these last 2 days and was pretty good last week. I think you're great to point out that he was he's a logical backup to the slot receiver Wan'Dale Robinson, which Chim could do, but is not the same type of player as Robinson or Restrepo. He's had a really good couple of weeks. People like him. This is actual analysis that he might be good enough to be on the team.
And don't underestimate the Rudy factor. Like,
I agree.
His teammates really like him. There was a catch he made yesterday on the sideline that was a nice toe drag, a nice jumping catch. And it wasn't a touchdown, but everybody on this offensive sideline kind of thought it was and came sprinting out and like almost got hurt because they were so eager to celebrate Restrepo's catch. People like having him around.
Dude, there's no...
Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. But
wasn't it you I was talking to yesterday where I look over and I go, God, the coaching staff loves this guy, right?
I don't know if that was me, but it seems like it. It really does.
But like every coaching staff, not this one, all of them.
And we all know that a number 7 receiver, which is what Restrepo would have to be to make the team, is going to need to produce on special teams. And I don't know how Restrepo produces on special teams. And that issue is not going to go away. So it is much easier to keep him on the practice squad and elevate him when you need him for a certain matchup than it is to actually rely on him as a down-to-down special teams player. We all know this. This is just facts of the matter when you are an undersized receiver who is not particularly athletic. And with the way that KJ Osborne has played in camp, it's going to be hard to not put him at the top of the pecking order right now.
Also the most experienced of all.
Very experienced. Like, you want that around. When we're talking about why 20 to 40 is better, it's players like KJ Osborne.
Yep. And frankly, Restrepo getting a little bit better. Also, I think Montgomery's in that mix. Tyron Montgomery's in that mix, although I think he's at the bottom of that list. I think Bryce Oliver, who is excellent on special teams, had a couple of nice moments in camp, not as consistent I don't think has been in practice the last few weeks as Restrepo has been or Osborne. But I do think it's those 4 names, maybe for 1 spot, maybe for 2 spots. If you go to 7, right? Does that sound fair? That it's those 4 guys ish, among some others. Maybe if they bring somebody in that will be battling for a spot or 2.
I'm not as high currently on Montgomery as I think I will be in 2 months, but I did not see anything specific from Montgomery throughout these last month and a half that made me think he's in the competition quite yet.
Hank Beatty?
I saw more from him, but that's still redundant to Restrepo, to Mason Kinsey, to a lot of these guys.
Kinsey is the beauty of the 20 to 40 improvement we're talking about is that Mason Kinsey is like your 11th receiver now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the whole point. I would have Hank Beatty at like 9 or 10.
If you guys care at all about this sort of thing, for the last 4 years that I've been here, and as far as I know, predating that, Mason Kinsey has always been first in line on receiver drills. He's always been the first to go during individual reps. You know who first in line is now? Xavier Restrepo.
I was going to say Wando Robinson. Seems like he's always going first.
It's Xavier Restrepo.
How much money, Fatty Matty says, how much money do practice squad players make? I want to say veterans who have been around for more than 1 year. I want to say it's in like the $16,000 to $17,000 a week range. I want to say it's like $250,000.
If we trust Wikipedia, rookies and less than salary minimum time, service time is $13,750 a week.
That was close.
And vested veterans are $18,350 a week.
All right, so I was right in the middle there. Okay, that's pretty good off the top of the head. Rob Nell says Xavier, Restrepo, Osborne, and Oliver give enough depth to consider a wide receiver trade of Rid, Chim, or Ellick if the other in position. No, Rob. You asked this on Monday with me and PK. Stop it. No. Number one, Ridley's the only one on there that is worth a trade of any kind, and he probably isn't worth much anyway. And no, none of those players are good enough to take starting spots from any of your actually good receivers. Like right now, Ellick and Chim are barely good enough to be starting receivers. You cannot afford. You finally have a receiving core that might actually be solid. Don't take a hatchet to it because you think a practice squad player might be good enough to be the 6th or 7th receiver on the team. Rob, I love you. Let's not do that.
Final note before we get to our next superlative. I have been pitching this for years. I have pitched this to the player himself. I have pitched this to people who work in local radio. I will pitch it to you, Braden. It is a money-making opportunity. If and when Mason Kinsey is no longer on the Titans, Mason and Mason in the morning, Derek Mason, Mason Kinsey radio show, the money will, the title alone, just make it happen.
Well,
make it happen, guys.
Can Derek Mason be on there? The other Derek Mason, the coach of the...
Oh, Mason, and Mason in the morning?
We get him on there?
Yeah. We could do that. That'd be fun.
Trading DK while the value is highest would be smart.
I don't think it would. But I
really don't like that this show is now contributing to the mythology of Xavier Restrepo. I don't like that because what's happening is you and I are trying to do honest analysis. And the internet is going to do what the internet does, which is lose its ever-loving mind. Like, hey, should we trade Chim DK now?
Big respect to Braden for not like clipping the parts of this show that could go viral.
Hey, what is that? What are you saying? Like, hey, good job for not doing your job? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying genuinely, like, we've talked about this before. We're not going to take ourselves out of context. If we're talking about Xavier Restrepo, we're talking about it reasonably.
No, hopefully you listen to the show for that exact reason. Hopefully. Here we go, Jordan. The morning show could be called The Freemasons. Brought to you by Illuminati.com. Okay. All right.
What you got?
Position group.
Yep.
That you changed your opinion the most about throughout the last 5 weeks.
Okay.
Do I need to put on the Knicks parade, by the way? What TV channel is that on?
I'll say... Okay.
He's writing, for those of you who are listening.
I'll say safety. I think safety is a...
Okay.
Is a position that I am thinking about a little bit differently. I honestly like the depth they have. If your fourth safety, you're choosing between Kendall Brooks, Jarek Reed, Sanusi Kane, like I kind of like that depth, and the way I'm seeing Kevin Winston take a step forward, the way that I'm kind of buying into the idea they have for Tony Adams, and just like, if Amani Hooker is Amani Hooker, like he's not a bad number 2 safety. He's really not a bad number 3 safety. If you need him to be your number 1, things get wonky, but like I'm starting to see the vision they have for the secondary. I don't know. They're one player away. They're one player away from collapse at that position group. But I would also say most NFL teams are one player away from collapse at most position groups. Like
if they're really good, I mean, if the player so the way I would just, I don't think I'm going to go safety specifically. I actually was going to say receiver because I just think I came into this with the same old Titans, like, well, we'll see what they got, and now I actually feel like they have each different piece of what a receiving core should have. And I think the second-year players have clearly gotten better and improved. And I think Robinson's better than we thought. And Ridley's injury he's better back faster than we thought. I think Restrepo and Oliver and Osborne have been better than we thought. Like, I just think everybody's kind of been a little bit better than I expected. So I might have said receiver group is the one I changed my opinion on, where I think it's a strength of the team now versus a major concern last year. And I came in more skeptical of that. But I agree with the secondary because I think Marcus Harris has really solidified himself as a prominent member of this team. I really liked what I saw from Kevin Winston the entire month and a half of practice, to your point. Tony Adams seems like a dependable piece, very vocal on the back end with everybody. You finally saw the starting corners out there during minicamp. So I think, to your point, the vision is there. I am hesitant because in the back of my head, I have the same thing you have, which is, man, if Taylor or Flott go down, specifically those two, it's just like where we were last year. Oh, the secondary looks better because of Snead and so-and-so and so-and-so. And then they all got hurt.
They've got 2 guys in the secondary who would have been their number 1 corner last year. I still don't know how much I buy Marcus Harris being a world beater. He didn't necessarily, this is a really, really deep cut, but I remember 2 years ago, it would have been 2 or 3 years ago, at the end of the season, I looked at the stats of who are the best players in the NFL at preventing catches per target or something like that. And Eric Garrer was number 2 in the entire NFL. And I was like, oh, really? Wow. And then last year I looked at that stat at the end of the season and Darrell Baker was in the top 5 in the league. And I was like, oh yeah, no, he did have a pretty good year. Marcus Harris kind of reads like that of yeah, he played okay, but I don't necessarily want to base a high projection off of it when it probably had more to do with the fact that the entire secondary was broken and teams could throw wherever they wanted. And they chose to throw to their number 1 receiver because their number 1 receiver was open a lot. And that's not statistically backed. You guys can prove that I'm wrong or something like that. But that is kind of how I feel about the Marcus Harris situation. I never saw this dude's a budding superstar, but it's a different scheme. He's a year healthier. He's a year stronger. Maybe he will make that jump. I don't want to sit here and rubber stamp it quite yet.
I'm not saying it's a big jump. I'm just saying they clearly they mention him a lot and he plays a lot in a lot of situations. All right. How about this is sort of players you're most concerned about, but I mean it inside the context of a position battle. So maybe it's position battle that you are most concerned about, having watched a week and a half or month and a half of practice. What is the position battle and those names inside of that position battle that you are most concerned about?
That was an easy one for me.
Oh, okay.
That was
I've got a different answer, but keep going.
Nick Suss theory, we've talked about it a bunch. There's really only 5 positions that I think matter on the field. Edge rusher is one of them. I do not think this team has an edge number 1. So Jermaine Johnson, Keldrick Falk will probably be your starters at some point. Jacob Martin is going to produce. Femi's total absence from camp is not good. And I was looking at the depth beyond that point this morning. If those are your 4, your 5th guy is Jalen Harrell or Truman Jones, which kind of leaves you right where you were last year. I think that if you asked me right now, would I rather have Jermaine Johnson, Keldrick Falk, and Jacob Martin than Draymond Jones, Arden Key, and Jihad Ward like you had coming into last year, I'm not necessarily convinced that the current group is an upgrade. Falk has more upside. Femi has some upside.
Femi's the same in both groups.
Femi's the same in both groups in that you don't know anything. I will continue beating the drum that you do need a pass rush off the edge to make this cornerback situation work. You can't trust corners to never rotate because you don't have any depth, and to also hold for 3 to 5 seconds every play. You need guys to get to the quarterback the quickest route possible, and the quickest route possible is off the edge. Robert Saleh has been adamant and mentioned it yesterday that he's not really going to rotate his players that much. They're going to play the position they play. So that means Jeffrey Simmons and John Franklin Myers probably aren't coming off the edge as much as you'd hope. I'm still a little bit concerned. I ended up being a lot less concerned at the end of last season than I thought I would be, because Draymond Jones was better than I thought he would be, and
well, he was only around. Wasn't he only around?
He was
for
only around half
the
the
season. Yeah.
But then Jihad Ward took a pretty big jump toward the end of last season, and I ended up being pretty okay with the unit. So maybe I'll end up being pleasantly surprised again, but I still have concerns about the edge group that have not necessarily gone away. Even though, as I said at the top of the show, I really was impressed by the growth Keldrick Falk took throughout OTAs and minicamp.
Okay, so I would take this year's group by a large margin. Not a large margin, but I think Jermaine Johnson is better than Jones or Key. I think Falk is better than Jones or Key. Femi is equal, and yes, I will give you Ward over Martin. Okay, but I think one is equal and two are better, and one is worse. So I would take this year's group just on a pure talent standpoint and a production standpoint. I think this is a really good group, relatively speaking. They do have a hole with a specific skill set that they are missing. And so I agree with you that is still one of the most glaring missing traits of the team. But I really do like the starting defensive line.
Sure.
I am not like as a position battle kind of thing. I think the starting group is really actually pretty good. Because if you go Johnson, Myers, Simmons, Falk, I think that's a really talented front four.
Sure.
And so I think Saleh's going to put him in the right place. I understand what you're saying, that the depth is still in question. There's no speed rusher who's actually truly going to change the way a quarterback views the defensive pressure off the edge. I am still hopeful that Anthony Hill can play a role in all of this, maybe up the middle, especially if you have Simmons and Myers eating up a lot of blockers, right? You should be able to shoot a guy through the gap if you need to pressure the quarterback with that quick sort of, because you say the fastest way to the quarterback's off the edge. I would disagree. The fastest way to the quarterback is through the A gap, because that's right where he's standing.
There are usually multiple people in the A gap.
100%. Simmons and Myers, I think, are going to take up a group. I don't disagree with your point, though, that it is a major focus that fans should be paying attention to. The one I would point to, and this, I'm going to go back to a comment here that I don't know if this is John's score. I don't know who this is. Sorry, man. How's the interior offensive line looking without pads so far? Is Slater looking up to snuff? Now, here's part of the problem with the conversation about edge versus interior offensive line. It takes a lot less talent and pedigree to be good in the interior of the offensive line than it takes to be good at defensive line. So there's sort of a different scale here. Yeah. The value of the edge position is more important than the value of the interior offensive line. But because we know absolutely nothing about the 3 or 4 players that are scheduled to battle for this position, one of them has started really in any meaningful way in the NFL. The other names have not started really even at all in the NFL. So we also know that this wasn't their first strategy at this position, that these were backup plans. So that would be my area. And some of this is also the context of not knowing what any of them look like without pads on. So you have to kind of caveat the whole thing. But the one area, like, I feel better about the running back room than I did this time 2 months ago. I feel better about the receiving core this time 2 months ago. Tight end room, I actually feel better about it today than I did 2 months ago after they let Chig go. I feel better about the secondary. Like most groups, I feel better about in general. The one that I do not is the Titans' offensive line, and specifically the interior of the offensive line. Skoronski's great, but the other names we just don't know about yet. And there's not a lot of tape of these guys starting a lot. Slater has never really started. One of the two free agents has started like 40 games. The other one started like 4, and we just don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah,
So,
I have no real strong rebuttal. I'll say one sentence and we can move on.
okay.
I don't feel good about the interior of the offensive line. I also don't feel worse about the interior of the offensive line. Like I feel the same way I felt on draft night. Nothing has changed to me.
All right. If that's all you're going to add.
What else do you want to say?
It's fine. Good thing Salah makes everyone feel like a starter and has always been great when guys get hurt. There you go. Fatty Matty says no pass rush equals 4 wins. Does the guy they just brought in at center have an actual shot to win the job? And I would say absolutely.
We'll see.
Femi's not doing anything either. Let's see here. Yeah, interior offensive line. There you go. Jones X Core, I guess, is how it's said. How did Jackie Marshall look? If there's even a way to tell without pads, he was pretty active actually on Wednesday. I feel like.
Yeah,
but,
this will be the best.
Lower.
This will be the best way I can say it. At one point, somebody turned to me and said, "Is that Jeffrey Simmons?" And I said, "No, it's Jackie Marshall."
I think that was me.
Was it you? Yeah,
I think that was me. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
but I was looking at the number though. Not
my point is he does look like a professional.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah. There's no question about that. Most improved second-year offensive player, not named Cam Ward award. That's that. I guess I need to say that was drafted.
I was about to say Xavier Estrepo again. Let's see, most improved second-year offensive player.
I think you want me to go?
People have said really nice things about Gunnar Helm this camp. I have not noticed as much about Gunnar Helm this camp. So, I think the answer is Gunnar Helm, but I have not necessarily seen it, and maybe I haven't been paying attention for it. He's getting more opportunities because he's the unquestioned number 1, but Daniel Bellinger has popped more than Gunnar has in my observation. So sure, I'll pick Gunnar, but it's more of a
DK had a really good week last week.
Yeah,
not as much, although he had a couple of nice catches yesterday. I think Gunnar Helm's the answer here, and it's in part because I think he has matured physically, but I think the offense is better suited for him to expand, and I think his role is now clearly defined. Where what I like about Bellinger is that he's going to do the other things that Helm doesn't do, which frees up Helm to do the things that he does do well, which in this system with Brian Daboll, he has been very clear about, is that Gunnar Helm is going to do things out in the formation a lot. And that means he could get a bunch of targets. I'm not saying 100 targets and he's going to be a fantasy tight end. I'm not saying that. I'm saying who's improved the most. And I think if you're looking at mentally and physically development, you're looking at new role in the new system who's benefited, and a guy who's actually going to statistically increase his production, I think it's Gunnar Helm over DK, over Io Manor, probably even Restrepo, definitely Khalil Mullings, and I'm taking Cam Ward kind of out of it. Okay. I think he has the shot to be the most productive of that group and make the most progress. So that would be my answer as well.
Well reasoned. I got distracted a little bit because I'm trying to figure out if this guy in the comment is Jared's burner account.
There's also another element to, maybe you can help me articulate this. There's also an element about a player when they're in a position group that it feels like they're just leading the group.
Yeah.
And it is very clear when they do every single drill that Luke Stocker's real focused on Gunnar Helm, and that Gunnar Helm goes first on everything, and that Bellinger's right there with him. The coaching and the effort and the focus is on Helm and Bellinger, and that those two are leading the position group, whether it's in team drills, whether it's in individual drills, whether it's in skeleton. They are the first ones leading that position group, which tells me that they are in fact trusting Helm to be more of that tight end 1.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's gonna be. He's going to play a lot, and we'll see how much 2 tight end reps they use. I'm actually fascinated to see.
I think it's a lot of 12 personnel.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see how many they carry, because I could see them get away with only carrying 3 tight ends. I could also see them try and force a 4th on the roster.
Well, and it depends on if you think Jaren Kanak is good enough to be like a true H-back / fullback / tight end / like he's just going to be a super flexible, which we knew that's what he was in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
So the question is how do they view him, and is he good enough to make the team? And that will be interesting.
Like when I did my projection this morning, and again, I'm going to do 10 more projections, nothing set in stone, but I had David Martin Robinson as the 54th. Like I had him as the first guy off the roster that I couldn't decide on.
Who's your third tight end?
Kanak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You 7th round picks who are undersized. You never know.
You never know. But that's a position that I really have not done enough digging into, I will say. You got a speed round for us as we're running up on time?
We still got 50. Best new defensive starter that you didn't see at practice much.
Cordell Flott.
Oh,
I like Cordell Flott a lot. I like his growth trajectory. I like how good he has. I like how he has gotten better every year of his career. We talk a lot about how cornerbacks are famously volatile and can be good one year and bad the next. I like that he kind of bucks that trend and has been steadily improving. I think that while Alontae Taylor is going to be asked to be the number 1 corner, I think Cordell Flott will be a better number 2 corner than Alontae Taylor will be number 1 corner. I think very highly of John Franklin Myers. There's nothing new I can say. I think highly of him. He was my number 1 free agent available or maybe number 2. I think I had Linderbaum number 1. I really like John Franklin Myers. I think the Titans got a good player in him. But of just guy that we didn't see who I think is actually going to be really very strong, I really like Cordell Flott.
All right, so here's what I want. I want multiple answers for this, and this will be our wrap-up here. I want the players, there's going to be multiple answers, that you are most excited to see in training camp. From a football nerd standpoint, from a scheme standpoint, for a Titan standpoint, doesn't matter. I want 1 on offense, 1 on defense. But I also want guys who are either on the roster or not. Like I want top of the roster and bottom of the roster. So I want 1 offensive player that you cannot wait to see in training camp that's like clearly on the team, right? Clearly as a starter.
Got that.
1 on offense, 1 on defense. And then I want 1 that's like deep down the list that's like fighting for a roster spot that you are most excited to see on offense and on defense.
Preamble, do your outro while I write. I got to think about this.
Sinkers Beverages, everybody. Make sure you check out Sinkers Beverages because they are an award-winning liquor store that constantly gets better, and they are accurate all the time. Make sure you check out Sinkers Beverages. If you are celebrating the U.S. men's national team match this Friday, tomorrow, at 2 p.m. Central Standard God's time, make sure you do it with beverages from Sinkers. Or if you're in Hendersonville or north of town, you can go to Bluegrass Beverages, which has been serving the community for over 50 years. It's their sister store. You can search Uber Eats, so in the middle of halftime, you don't have to go anywhere. You can just search Uber Eats and have Sinkers booze delivered right to your party, to your watch party, to your house. Drink local craft beer from Sinkers Beverages because they're big supporters of USA Soccer, Nashville SC, Nashville Predators, Titans. Support all those folks.
All right,
let's go.
Let's see if I can do this incrementally so I only show 1 at a time. Offensive player, J.C. Latham.
Okay.
He's definitely on the team. I got no question J.C. Latham's on the team. I need to see this dude look like a first-round pick. I need to see this dude look like a tackle who's deserving of an extension. I really am excited to see what he looks like.
Do you want me to do my same version of that, or do you want to hold off? Okay.
I'll say Kevin Winston real quick, and then you can give your offensive and defensive players. I love watching Kevin Winston practice. This dude just spins around and knocks the crap out of people and has no remorse for the way he hits his teammates. I think that this system is perfect for him to do that a lot. I really like the way he practices, and I'm very intrigued to see him take a step forward in year 2, especially on the actual game field. But in practice, there's nobody who I key in more than Kevin Winston.
This is a good list here. Bustin' Diamond says Tony Pollard and Amani Hooker as the stars that he's looking forward to seeing, and then Jared Kanak and Anthony Hill on defense. I think that's a really good list of players. My top 2, I have Kevin Winston written down. I don't even think that he might be number 1 across all categories for me.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to see Kevin Winston on the field with full pads on, especially against another team. Can't wait. Which I think we got word of. There's going to be some scrimmages, right? So,
Yes.
going to be really interesting to see Kevin Winston on defense. I have Tajay Spears on my list.
Okay.
I really can't. I'm not sure what his role is going to be, but I think I know what it's going to be, and I think it could be really interesting. And I think he's better than people like Paul Kaharski think he is. Coming up next, by the way, make sure you check out his podcast. I think Tajay Spears. I don't know what he's going to be. I know exactly what Tony Pollard is going to be, but I don't know what Spears is going to be. And if he's as good as maybe I'm starting to think he could be, if he's healthy, then I think you've got a weapon that Brian Daboll is going to really use in a creative way. And I think he's going to be a really helpful piece to Cam Ward. So I'm very interested in Tajay Spears on offense, Kevin Winston on defense. Next up, coming after this, by the way, Paul Karski podcast.
Yeah, I'm going defense then offense here because defense one's pretty self-explanatory and offense one is just fun to talk about.
Negative Nancy here. Negative Nancy.
Okay, so we've gotten J.C. Latham. We've gotten Kevin Winston.
Okay.
On defense, James Williams.
What?
I am fascinated to see what James Williams is. I don't know if you also have him. I don't necessarily know that James Williams is on the 53 right now. I do not feel as confident that James Williams is a guy in the scheme that people think he is. I really want to see how he competes with Mohamed Diabate. I have not learned how to pronounce his name yet. I am sorry. The linebacker they signed from Cleveland is another one of those.
They like him.
Another one of those KJ Osborne examples of improve 20 to 40.
Yeah,
he is a classic make your team better player. You know Cody Barton's going to make the team. You know Cedric Gray is going to make the team. You know Anthony Hill's going to make the team. If there's a fifth linebacker spot, it comes down to Dorian Musi and James Williams.
Diabate.
Who is better on special teams when you're the number 5 linebacker? We know this front office really, really likes what Dorian can do on special teams, and we know that John Fossil really likes what he can do. So I am fascinated to see if James Williams can carve a role for himself, because we all know the upside, but he is a 7th round pick going into his 3rd year who hasn't really produced yet. That will be fun to see. And then on offense, there is only one answer. There's only one possible answer. Of course. Who else would I be fascinated to watch?
Dude, you are obsessed with this guy.
Who the heck else would be interesting to watch?
I don't care. Is that weird? Is that weird?
I do care. It's so interesting.
No. I am super fascinated by him, the individual. Like, as a person, I am fascinated with Will Levis. If I could do like a 45-minute long form, just sit down with him and like maybe not even publish it. That would be one of the most interesting conversations I will have ever had with somebody I've covered.
What you're describing is therapy. Well, you want to be
sure.
a therapist. Look, this is why it's fascinating. Let me
on the field.
Let me defend the opinion. He is the only person on this team who is fundamentally playing for the other 31 teams. Every single rep he makes, every single play he makes is going to be dissected by every other coach and every other front office and every other scout in the NFL to see, should we give up a 6th round pick on this guy? Should we give up a 7th round pick for this guy? He is auditioning for something totally different than every other player on this team. And Paul really wants to start his show.
Kidding,
so
bro.
I'm sorry, man. I also want to go. I've got lunch waiting
Me
for me.
too.
But yeah, it's Levis. Levis is the most fascinating player on this team.
Okay. I've got Femi Oladejo on my list. I just think he is an incredibly important piece at a position that you've already illuminated is incredibly important and unfinished. Because of the uncertainty and the unknown with him, but the quality of talent, 2nd round pick worthy of that pick last year. I think Femi Oladejo is one of the most interesting players near the bottom of the roster on defense. He's not a scout team guy who's going to make the team necessarily, right? I get that. Otherwise, you could say somebody like Marcus Harris would be super interesting. James Williams is in that category, but I like Femi. And I'm going to go with Jaren Kanak as well, just because I think he is. I am hopeful that he is good enough to do all the things I want him to be able to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I find that Kyle Juszczyk type of player to be incredibly valuable and interesting. And if he's even like 65, 70% of Kyle Juszczyk, he's not the blocker, of course, but like if you can even be 2/3 of that player, you could create a lot of interesting value. And what you do is you create interesting sets and route combinations and formations and pre-snap motions and all kinds of cool stuff. And that is when you watch and go listen to the Hot Read podcast before you check out Paul Kaharski's show. We did a deep dive into Brian Daboll's scheme. And one of the things that James Foster said about Brian Daboll's rushing attack is that it's way too predictable, way too easy to diagnose, and fairly basic. Brilliant route concepts and passing game is this, that, and the other thing. But on the rushing attack, that it's real, simple, and predictable. And a versatile weapon like that could change some of that. That's all. He is not baby Wycheck. Stop it, Rob. Stop it. All right. Sinkers Beverages, Tennessean.com, Paul Kaharski podcast. Check him out. Thank you for your patience, PK. Thank you for listening to everybody out there. For Nick, I'm Braden. Go USA, go USA, go USA. We'll talk to you next time.